Hello, Facebook. We're so excited for you to join us for our show today. We have Jessica Hill, who is the Economic Development Coordinator for, no, I'm going to say this wrong, Jessica. Let me say it again. Tell me how to say it, Jessica.
Executive Director of the Orange County Economic Development Corporation.
See, she just told you. That's Jessica, and she's here today to talk a little bit about what is going on in Southeast Texas. And then we have Kristi Dourian, First Financial Bank. Glad to see you here.
Thank you for having me, Dayna.
Okay. Yeah, listen, we are so excited. We're going to talk about, is now still a good time to buy or sell in Southeast Texas? Going to ask them the questions. You're going to want to tune in and listen. So we'll see you here in just a little bit. Can you hear? Did you turn it up?
Yeah.
409.
Well, hello, Southeast Texas. We are so glad you're joining us today. We have an impressive show. So many people have been asking me, hey, Dayna, is it still a good time to buy or sell real estate in Southeast Texas? Well, we're going to answer that question for you today. I'm Dayna Simmons with Dayna Simmons Real Estate, and I have some incredible guests that are going to be joining us today that you can call in, ask questions, get information. First, we have Jessica Hill, who is the Executive Director of the Orange County Economic Development. She is going to give us some information about what's going on in Orange County and is it good? Is it positive? And then we also have Kristi Dourian, who's with First Financial Bank. You know, interest rates have gone up just a hair, but can you still buy a house and have a good price? She's going to go over all kinds of options you may not have even thought about on how to get into a property and still have a monthly note that you can afford. But first, I want to talk a little bit about what's the market doing. Well, let me just say, we are still selling houses. It is an incredible market right now. We are still seeing a shortage in listings. So we have less than 2 months of inventory in our MLS, and we are seeing buyers that are still wanting to find that perfect home. So if you are thinking about, is now a good time for me to sell? Call our office. Let us give you specific information about what's going on in your neighborhood, what you might be able to get, and be personal and what might could happen for you. I know every single area is different. You know, we were talking just before the show started in that in the national news, you get so much information. Well, it really does not apply here to Southeast Texas when we're talking about what is the market like. The market is local. So we want to give you local information about what's going on. So let's get started with our guests, and then we're going to get into how is that going to impact you. So let me start with Jessica. Jessica Hill, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you, Dayna, for having me today. So as you said, I'm the Executive Director of the Orange County Economic Development Corporation. I've been there for right at 6 years. And it's been an incredible experience. There's so much going on in the community right now, both in Orange County and regionally. You know, I come from a background in economic development. I've been doing this for 15 years now, and I can honestly say that I have not seen opportunities like this in the time that I've been working in this industry. Spent time at the Beaumont Chamber and had some opportunities to work with the city of Beaumont. Managed our regional economic development initiative, and so I've had some chances to really work in a lot of projects across the region, and now is absolutely the hottest market that I've seen since I've been working here.
Yeah, and you've been here a while, and we were talking. You have a couple of boys, and
I
you raised them here in Southeast Texas, so you're a part of this community too. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I have two boys, Wyatt and Walker. They're 7 and 9. We live in Nederland. Baseball is their passion. We're at the ball fields during the week, on the weekends. We have games tonight. But yeah, they love it here, and we're really happy to raise our family here because we do see, the opportunities that are available to young families growing up here, and an opportunity to create, jobs for them to stay here and go to school here at the, institutions that we have to educate the youth and create a sustainable workforce that can really continue to grow our region.
And we talked a little bit about that last week too. We talked about Lamar University and all that brings for our community. And listen, I remember those baseball days. They were so sweet. Long at the moment, some days were late nights at the ballpark. But let me just say, so much fun to be a part of what's going on with the youth and in Little League and all of that goes on in that at the Ford Park area. Man, we have, talk about economic development, we have so much with all of the baseball teams who come and what that brings to our area. So yeah, what a great way for the kids to get into doing something that's a lot of fun. And we did go see the Astros the other day too. So let me just say, baseball is definitely in our family. We love it, and go Astros. They did great and won that night. So Kristi, tell us a little bit about you. Kristi Dourian with First Financial Bank.
Hello, Dayna. Thank you for having me back. Oh, there I am. Thank you, Dayna, for having me back. My name is Kristi Dourian. I am a mortgage loan officer at First Financial Bank. I've been doing mortgage lending for 12 years now, and just like what Jessica was saying, we've never seen a time quite like this one. It's still very busy and very successful. So we're seeing lots of good things happen, and even despite the rising interest rates. But I'm a native of Southeast Texas, live in Groves. One daughter, 13, Olivia. Hi, Olivia. And I just love what I do.
Yeah.
Love Southeast Texas.
Well, and I love that, just like I say every week, that when we have people on this show, it's local people who are invested locally with not only their children, but they've been here a very long time. Before the show, we were talking a little bit about affordability of houses, and we're going to get into that here in just a little bit in our next segment. But we were talking about how the market has shifted a lot over the last 28 years that I've been in real estate. And I agree with you. We've never seen an inventory as low as it is right now. We've never seen a demand as we've seen right now. So when I have people ask me, is now a great time to sell? I say unequivocally with 100% confidence,
Absolutely.
it is a great time to sell. And so many people are like, yeah, but if I sell, I may not find something to buy. Well, you're going to want to tune in the next several weeks because that's part of what we're going to be discussing as well. If you need to sell before you buy, you may not know that you can buy before you sell, and there are options for you to do that. And so in the next several weeks, we're going to be talking about how can you go ahead and buy and then be able to sell your property and not worry about being homeless. So you're going to want to stay tuned in the next few weeks for us to be having those conversations. But we're also going to be talking about what is going on in Southeast Texas and what is it that you need to know is coming to our area to grow our area. So when we come back from the next break, Jessica Hill is going to talk a little bit about what she knows is coming. You're not going to want to miss it. It is so exciting, all that's coming to Southeast Texas. So don't go away. Come right back. This is Dayna Simmons.
on East
Red button.
560 KLVI. Hey, join the conversation.
Welcome back to the Dayna Simmons Show. We are excited to have Kristi Young, who is the Executive Director of the Orange County Economic Development Corporation. And we also have Kristi Dourian with First Financial Bank here with us today. And we're talking about, is now still a great time to buy or to sell your property? And we're going to go into what are some of the things that are going on in Southeast Texas. You know, we know that the national news just wants to often talk about doom and gloom. But let me tell you, we have so much positive coming here to Southeast Texas. We had Kristi Young with the Chamber of Commerce, the Beaumont Chamber of Commerce here last week, talking about all that's coming with the Chamber. And then today we have Jessica, who I heard a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month, you know, time when you're older, it just goes, talk about what's going on. And I was like, oh, Jessica, I need to have you on my show. That is so exciting, all that you have. She is going to give us an idea of what are some of those things that are coming to Southeast Texas and how's that going to impact us here locally. So Jessica, give us an idea of what's going on in our area.
So for Orange County specifically, the biggest project that we're working on right now is the Chevron Phillips Chemical Project, the U.S. Gulf Coast 2 investment, which I guess to put it in perspective, if you've driven to Houston and you know where the Chevron Phillips facility is there on Interstate 10 in Baytown, that new unit that they built is comparable to what will be in Orange County should the project move forward. They've currently spent, I would say, close to $1 billion on the property. It's about 1,700 acres. They have brought in all of their land development crews to prepare the land. They have not received final investment decision at this point from their partners, but it is advanced through the land development phase into heavy construction, and so you'll continue to see activity out there on site. The proposed investment would be close to $8 billion.
Wow.
Total permanent jobs would be in the 500 to 600 range, and that's new permanent jobs for the area.
Yeah.
And peak construction, we're looking at anywhere from 7,500 to 10,000 construction jobs on site. So when you put that in perspective with what everything else is happening in the region, you can see that there's going to be a great demand for the immediate jobs, but also the secondary and tertiary support services that are important to ensure that a project like that happens. So
Yeah.
that is obviously where a lot of our attention is focused right now, and has been for probably the last 6 years. If you've ever worked one of these projects, then you know that they don't happen overnight. And I think that is kind of where we need to be better communicating with our communities, is that, you know, letting them know how these projects are progressing, because, you know, Orange County and really the region and the state has been hearing about Chevron Phillips U.S. Gulf Coast 2 for a very long time now. And when you hear about it over and over and over again, and, you know, there's never a public announcement, there's not a ribbon cutting, you think that it's not going to happen, and it kind of gets forgotten about. So we're trying to keep it in the front of people's minds, because it is a game changer for Orange County should that project continue to develop there. It would double our tax base with just the investment from that one facility. So it is critically important to the community and to the region as well, because we don't just employ people from Orange County.
Right.
You know, there are people from all over the region, and even Southwest Louisiana, that are working in the facilities in Orange County, and even in Southeast Texas and Port Arthur and Beaumont as well.
Right.
You know, there are individuals from all over the community that are working here and supporting those jobs within those industries. But in addition to, you know, the CP Chem project, we are anticipating an expansion of the Entergy Power Station, which would be another $1 billion in investment out there.
It's funny, Jessica, you keep talking about these billion.
Right, I know.
That's like beyond what I can even imagine. So $1 billion projects. So I'm sorry to interrupt you on that. I'm just like, wow.
No, well, you know, and you bring up a good point, because when we go to conferences, you know, professional conferences with other economic developers and communities across the U.S., and we're talking about projects in our communities, and they're raving about how they landed, you know, a $100 million project or a $60 million project, and we're sitting in the back of the room almost embarrassed to talk about the billions of dollars that are being invested in our community. And we almost get jaded by that. And we
Yeah.
forget how
Yeah.
important this region is
Right.
to not only the state's economy, but to the national economy. Everything that's coming out of it, not just on the oil and gas side and the chemical side, but with healthcare and maritime and logistics and distribution and steel and everything that's coming out of this region. I think we have blinders on sometimes and
I
don't
agree.
realize what
Yeah.
is taking place around us, which is something really, really special.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think what we do is we talk about $1 billion. We don't realize, wow, what that impact is to all of us, and the need for permanent housing in the housing industry, for the need of having temporary housing, and the need for us to have workers who will relocate into our area, which don't only need houses, they also need everything else. So it is a
Yeah.
ripple effect to every single person in our area. And so this energy project, when is it projected to begin?
So we're hoping that they will receive their PUC approval. They still are waiting on that, but the project has been approved. They're just waiting for the Public Utility Commission's approval to start construction on that expansion project, and it will supply more power to the region and more reliability to those that are currently on that system, and will allow us to add additional capacity with projects such as the CPChem project and all of the residential development, as well as the other industrial development that we're currently prospecting right now.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. So tell me about some other things. I know you were talking about, those are two big ones and great ones, but you also have some other things coming to Orange County.
We do. Last year we announced the expansion of Optimus Steel, which is a $40 million expansion to
Oh,
their
just
facility.
40 million.
I know that's
Yeah.
we talk about like, oh, it's just 40 million.
Oh, it's like,
But that's a huge
That's
investment.
big still,
It
yeah.
really is a huge investment. And they're creating 50 new jobs, and those
Yeah.
are families that didn't have jobs,
that's
or
right.
or they're upskilling and they're improving their work capability. And so we're excited to continue to work with them. And one thing that we're probably most excited about, but it's probably the smallest capital investment, would be the new hospital.
Yeah.
Several years ago, we lost Baptist in Orange County, and so the introduction of a new facility that will be operated by Christus is exciting. It'll be out on Interstate 10, and they are currently under construction. They're building in a new boulevard, and it'll be a micro hospital. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's at Interstate 10 and Highway 62. And it will be a micro hospital with emergency services. It will be Medicare and Medicaid served. And they have a multi-phase plan to build out that facility to provide additional services and space for other physicians and specialty services to operate out there. So we're really excited to have those services back in Orange County.
That is amazing. Those are huge, big, wonderful projects. It's funny when you were saying, a smaller project that we're excited about. You know what I was thinking?
What? Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A! I was thinking, oh, you mean Chick-fil-A? Everyone in Orange County was so excited.
They were.
Still excited.
Yes, you've made it whenever you get a Chick-fil-A and a
And a
Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Yeah, listen, so I think they knew what was coming. They hear the rumblings. That's where
That's a good point.
when you see those kinds of things happening, they understand the growth that's going to happen in those areas. And so
Yeah.
for us here locally, sometimes you're right. We forget. We get those blinders on. We get focused on the day-to-day living. And we forget about all the wonderful things that you guys, people behind the scenes, our economic development corporations are working to bring all of that to Southeast Texas to improve the life for all of us. I think we have a caller on the phone. So who do we have on line one? Oh, maybe he's not there yet. I think we're trying to get. Oh, we don't. So,
Darn.
oh, pooh. I love a caller. So did you hear the excitement in my voice when I thought I had a caller? You know what that means? That means you need to call in and ask Jessica some questions. Let her answer your questions about what's going on. Well, I'm so excited. I really know that Orange County is going to benefit from this, but not just Orange County. All the surrounding areas. While we talk about all of this is going on in Orange County, it is going to benefit all of the people around Southeast Texas for every single aspect of goods that are sold.
It's so eye-opening and encouraging to hear all of this.
Yeah, it really
Information.
is, because
It changes your outlook.
your
Changes
perspective.
yeah.
You're like, well, how can it not be better? Every single person who's going to come is going to need housing in one way or another, whether they buy or they rent. They're going to have something. So for us, this information I think is critical. I don't see in the next 5 years there being an issue with us having too much housing.
Absolutely not.
I
We
think
need more.
I think
We
that's
need
exactly right. I think the issue is we need more houses on the market, and we need to be able to raise that inventory so that we have more options for buyers who are looking to buy. Well, when we come back in the next segment, we're going to talk to Kristi about, are you one of those who's sitting on the fence because you think it's not affordable to buy right now because the interest rates have gone up a little? Well, Kristi has some great tips that she's going to share with you that's going to help you understand how you can make this happen right now. So you're not going to want to miss it. Come back. This is the Dayna Simmons Show.
A few years ago, we decided to implement a client services team, which is also called our inside service agents. And the reason we've done this is to really step up our customer service level. It's a service we provide completely for free. A lot of people might not even understand what that means or why it's important to them as a consumer, but we are licensed agents trained on the market and know the current trends in mortgage information. We can answer every single question just like an agent can, but the difference is we're not going to sell you a darn thing. There is no pressure. We're only here to answer your questions and guide you in the right direction. And when the time is right, we can get you set up with one of our awesome team members.
Welcome back. This is Dayna Simmons, and we have a great show going on. We were just listening to Jessica Hill, who is the Executive Director of the Orange County Economic Development Corporation, talking about all of the billions of dollars of growth that's coming to Orange County, which incredibly impacts every single one of us in a positive way. and talking about the fact that it's going to bring not only temporary jobs, but it's also going to bring long-term jobs, hundreds of long-term jobs. So we're wondering, how does that impact the real estate market? Well, as you look at that, and when you have people coming in, housing requirements increase. So what does that look like if it's a buyer out there wanting to buy? Now, one of the ways they may want to buy is they may want to buy for themselves as a personal residence. And so Kristi's going to talk a little bit about that as well. But what if you want to invest and buy a property to use as a rental for some of those temporary employees? We're going to go ahead and get into that in the last segment as well. So if you're thinking about that part of it and you're thinking about an investment, stay tuned to the end of this show. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But Kristi, you know, everyone's talking about higher interest rates. Kristi Dourian with First Financial Bank, you've pulled some really good information for us to kind of help people grasp when you're looking at the rise in interest rates, it's not as scary as some people are making it out to be.
It's not. I think a lot of, the initial shock that rates are rising, I feel like people pull back a little bit, but it's been business as usual since, January, February, since rates started going up and more. I think, I personally had a record month in April, and we're on track for the same thing in May. So while the statistics out there are saying that applications are down, they may be on refinances, but on purchases, at least in this area, we're still seeing no slowdown whatsoever.
And I think your point is made here too in this region. You know, in this region, we still have a lot of wonderful things going on. And so the fact that we are still selling houses and there are buyers out there who are still looking for the perfect home because the inventory is just low and they've not been able to find that.
Right. And ultimately, I think need is going to drive.
It is, yeah.
Buyer decisions. Decisions are going to be made based on need. And so it is tough and it's a little bit hard to swallow when, it may have been a better time to buy for 5 or 6 months ago than it is now, but we don't know what it's going to look like in 5 or 6 months from now. So
right.
Try to shift your perspective from the here and now to what are my needs and what can I afford?
And what can we do with that? And so one of the things that we talked about trying to help people understand is what is the difference? What is the cost? So I'd asked you to pull a few numbers. Do you want to kind of talk through that with our listeners?
Sure. Okay, so just to give you a baseline, and these estimates are based on a 30-year fixed 5% down for primary residence. Lots of different things drive the rate. It's always going to be specific to you as the buyer with your credit score and your down payment and type of residence, lots of other things. But let's just say at this time, par, which means the interest rate that you qualify for at 5% down is 5.625. Well, just to give you kind of the temperature check, principal and interest on a $200,000 purchase with 5% down is going to be around $1,093 a month. Now, that does not include your escrow. That's a different, but just to give you kind of an idea of where that would be. So $1,093 a month, and then on $300,000 it would be around $1,640 a month. Now, you do have the option to buy the interest rate down by paying points. It's a one-time fee that you pay at closing. It's not an origination fee to your lender. It's an option to you to basically pay points on your loan amount, which means it's a percentage or an interest. You're paying upfront interest in exchange for a lower rate so that you can save over the term of the loan. So let's say in the same exact example, if you were to buy the rate down to 5.25, you'd go from $10.93 to $10.49 a month. And so that's $44 less per month, but over the term of the loan, you're going to save, about, that's not it, hang on, I'm sorry, $13,500 over the life of the loan.
And it didn't cost you that much to buy that
right.
down.
And that includes, those savings includes what you paid to buy the rate down. Then on $300,000, you're going to save $20,500 over the life of the loan and $67 less a month.
So the point is, though, if you are going to be in the house for more than 5 years, buying the rate down is potentially a great thing to do.
It absolutely is. If you have the ability to do that, to spend a little bit more at closing, and a lot of people say, I need to make a larger down payment. The better way, hands down, to spend those funds is by buying your interest rate down.
Now,
If you're going to be there long term.
that's what I was going to say. Now, if you're not going to be there long term, if you know this is a 3 to 5 year situation, then buying the rate down really isn't beneficial to you, right?
That's right. And you might, if the option is there, it's not now with rates the way that they've been on the rise, but kind of the opposite of paying points would be to let the lender premium price the loan for you. And that's where you say, I'll take the higher interest rate. You can give me a reduction toward my closing costs, and that gets you into the house for less out of pocket. And, that's a really good strategy when you know you're only going to be there for a short term. Yeah.
Because it pays off in that instance.
Yes.
So you don't want a premium price alone if you're going to be there long term.
Exactly. If you're not going to realize the savings, because what did I say? 44 less a month isn't like a huge
Amount if you're going to
impact.
be there.
Yeah, you don't feel that necessarily in your budget, but when you look at $20,500 over the term of the loan, that's a big deal.
So for those of us who do this every day, for you and I, when you're talking these numbers and we're talking about how one strategy works better than the other, our brains think about it very easily.
Yes.
And we're connecting on, you should do it this way if you're short term, or this way if you're long term. When you don't do this every day, that doesn't come so easily.
It doesn't.
And so that's why it's so important to get with a lender who can strategize
Absolutely.
in your situation to enable you to make the best decisions of what's the best strategy for you.
Yeah, when you're having your conversation with potential lenders, you should expect to hear
Options.
and for your loan officer to educate you and be able to give you tips and tricks of the trade. And one of my favorite things right now is to do, for 20% down buyers. Let's say you're selling a house, and a lot of buyers are always like, yeah, I've been told 20% down is the best way to go. I don't want to pay private mortgage insurance monthly. So what I suggest doing with that, if you know you want to put 20% down, instead of doing 20%, do 19% down. Use the additional funds that you were already going to spend to pay points on your interest rate and to pay for your PMI up front as a one-time single premium. It's like, $1,200 maybe. So like just with the examples that we were doing earlier, like at an 80% loan to value, if you did 20% down on $200,000, you would need about $58,500 to close, and it would be about $1,830 a month, principal and interest, not including escrow. Now, by the same token, if you did an 82% loan to value, that would be an 18% down payment,
Right.
and you're going to use the rest of those funds to buy your rate down and to pay your PMI up front. You're going to save. You're going to spend $33 per month less, and you're going to do $1,100 less out of pocket.
Yeah. So all in all, even the monthly and the out of pocket is less.
Yes, and $14,700 saved over the term of the loan by doing that.
Right. And that little tip, how many people know to do that? As a
Probably
normal
not many.
Yeah.
Not me.
That's right. A normal consumer doesn't know that. So it's really important that you visit with someone who's looked at all of the options.
Absolutely.
And
we
the
can
tricks.
take the tricks and put the puzzle pieces together and say, like, if you tell me this is what I have to spend at closing and this is where I want my monthly payment to be, I will tell you exactly what price range you need to shop in and how we need to structure your down payment and everything so that all of your boxes are checked.
And which program's the best.
Absolutely. That's a big part of it. Your loan officer should always be able to tell you what the most suitable loan product is, because you may qualify for more than one loan product. There are conventional FHA, VA, USDA, and then lots of other options within those products.
So what you're saying is what any consumer should do is find a lender which we recommend First Financial Bank, of course, and Kristi Dourian, who can sit down and talk with you about how to reach your goals, right?
Absolutely.
And so once you sit down with them and you say, tell me what it is you want to do, you can come up with the best option and let them choose. Now, you may give them 3 options and they decide on one or the other, correct?
Exactly. And some of you may not care. Just tell me what to do. I'll do that too.
Yeah, that's exactly
You're the
right.
expert.
Yeah, and that's what we do too when we're working with clients. I love to go out to a seller's house and give them options.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, here are all your options. My job is to guide and direct and give you the best strategy from my perspective. But
Right.
you have to choose in the end because you're the one that's going to live with that.
Right.
And so I love the fact that it's not just, oh, let's put them in the box of cash conventional or FHA or USDA. It's also, well, there are caveats to each of those that you can do
Absolutely.
to make it better for you.
So many ways to strategize.
Right. So Kristi, if someone's thinking about it, but they're concerned because they don't want really a hit on their credit, they're like, I just don't know. Talk to that person about how is the impact of you just sitting down and visiting with them.
Yeah, I'm actually a believer that pulling your credit is not going to be harmful. It's actually more harmful to not let me pull your credit and tell you where to begin than to just think, well, I don't want a hard pull put on my credit because I don't want my credit score to drop. I've actually seen consumers where I pull their credit, they've had their credit pulled like 40 times recently, like in the last 4 months, and the drop to their credit score may have been a point or two. It's not going to be dramatic. So you're really not doing yourself a favor. But anyways, when we sit down and we have these conversations, we can talk about all of the different programs. If you're interested in learning, we can. But really the best place to start is to let me pull your credit and put things together for you because there's so much information to go through. We can narrow it down and kind of cut through a lot of the extra information to where we have more relevant information that's going to apply to you.
Yeah, and what I love, Kristi, is that when I've seen it many, many times when you've worked with our clients, is that you educate them and help them, but you're no pressure. Absolutely no pressure.
That's
and
right.
I love that. You want to just help them make the best decision. The other thing that I love is that First Financial has so many different options.
Yeah, if I can't help you, somebody at First Financial can.
Because
So-
the loan products are completely different.
Yes, we have so many in-house products that if I can't get you into the cookie cutter mold for secondary market, that's where we sell the servicing after closing, then we've got some great options for in-house if you want to keep your loan here.
You also have a couple of other products that First Financial is working with, and Arlette came on and talked a little bit about those. Just mention those as well.
Yes, we have affordable home mortgage program. Oh, I don't think I'm saying that right, but it's for limited income first-time home buyers.
Right.
And
And then the
we have our
ITIN
ITIN loan.
yeah.
So if you don't have a social security number, if you don't have residency status, there are loans that we can still make for you.
Yeah, so First Financial is working to make sure that if someone wants to be a homeowner, which we know that people who are homeowners tend to be more part of a community, they tend to thrive more, so we love having people able to purchase a home. So if you have any questions, give Kristi a call. Kristi, what's that number?
You can reach me anytime at 409-238-1030.
Or they can go on the First Financial website.
Yes. Probably the best thing to do would be to call or text me at that phone number, 409-238-1030, or you can go online and find me.
You can send them a text back with an application.
I sure can.
Yeah. Well, that's been some great information, and I'm sure you may have more questions that you want to ask Kristi. So don't hesitate. You can either reach out to my office, and we can also get you in touch with her to help you get any of your questions answered. When we come back, we're going to talk about, is it still a good time to buy investment property? We're going to talk about what that looks like as well. So don't go away. This is the Dayna Simmons Show. Welcome back to the Dayna Simmons Show. We have been visiting with Jessica Hill, who is the Executive Director of the Orange County Economic Development Corporation, and also Kristi Dourian with First Financial Bank. And we've been talking about all the wonderful things going on here in Southeast Texas. And Jessica was sharing a lot of what's coming. And as we were just talking in the break, I mentioned some of our stats for Orange County for March of 2022. One of the most impressive stats I saw is that the median price is up 35.3% in Orange County. The median price is $229,500. So we're seeing a definite increase in the values of the homes in the Orange County area. In Hardin County, we have a little bit of a higher median price. It's at $282,000. And in Jefferson County, we're seeing about a little over $200,000 as the median price. But in all markets, we're seeing a 2-month or less months of inventory. So the demand is extremely high for things in our area, and the time to sell is now. And if you have any questions about that, on how to make that happen because you want to buy as well, please give our office a call at 409-866-TEAM, which is 409-866-8326. And we can schedule a consultation to sit down with you and talk about what are some of the options where you can buy before you sell. Or maybe there are other options that you haven't even thought about. So give us a call and let us talk to you about how we can give you a value for your property and give you consultation on what you can do next. Jessica, we were talking about the demand in Orange County, and you were saying, yeah, there's just not enough there.
Yeah, so to your point, on the supply and demand, the cost of purchasing going up, we now have over 500 homes under development, and we haven't seen. I know I keep saying that, but we haven't seen growth like that, especially in Orange County, in a very, very long time.
Right.
And they're big builders that are coming in, and DSLD and DR Horton, and so we're excited to see those new homes, but we need more. And one of our site managers for one of our local industrials made the comment the other day in a meeting that 500 is great, but we need more.
Right.
Where are the next 1,000 going to go? Where are the next 1,500 going to go? So there's certainly a market for that.
Yeah, definitely a demand that is going to continue to grow for housing here in Southeast Texas. And the month of inventory prove it.
Absolutely.
So for us, it's also about the fact that some of these workers are going to just be temporary workers.
Mm-hmm.
So while there's a demand for people who want to buy, there's also going to be a demand for people who want to rent.
Sure.
And so one of the things that I wanted to visit with everyone about is that option. I'm seeing right now people who are purchasing homes and then renting them very quickly, not just long-term rentals, but Airbnbs.
Airbnb is huge in our area.
It really is. And
It's
there are
crazy.
lots of reasons for that. All of these workers, that's one. But then we talked about the baseball.
Right. Yes. Yes.
All of the kids who come here for baseball, some of them don't want to just go into a hotel. They have families. Mm-hmm. And so I have a customer that I sold a property to recently. He just listed it on Airbnb and called me the next day and went, oh my goodness. The demand is great. I personally have a property that I use for short-term rentals, and I've just purchased another one to do the same thing, and I am keeping them occupied. It's not just for while these workers will need it, and we need that, it's also for so much other demand that's here. When people are looking to relocate with our oil industry,
Right.
ExxonMobil, all of the others, they're here for a couple of months before they often are able to get into a property, or maybe they're waiting for their house to sell somewhere else. So if you haven't thought about getting into the market for a rental, either doing it long term or short term, that's another option that we'd love the opportunity to visit with you about. And how do you do that? One of the things that First Financial does for me is I work with a commercial lender there. And that commercial lender can help get you qualified to buy that investment property so that you too can be a part of building wealth through real estate.
Yeah, we have some phenomenal commercial lenders, and there are lots of ways to finance rental property. So you can do it as a residential, in-house, secondary, or you can go through the commercial lending department.
Right, and I know, Kristi, you have a program that you've worked with some of our clients with when they've done that. So talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah, so just a rental property purchase, typically you're going to be required to do 15% down. One of the challenges that we came across before was that a lot of people that want to purchase a rental home, they want to purchase and shelter that liability in the name of they want to go into title under the LLC.
Right.
Well, when you do that, you are not cookie cutter for secondary market anymore. So what you can do though, what we found is that Fannie Mae does allow you to change title after closing from your personal name into the LLC, and that way you have the limited liability for tax purposes and for legal purposes and all of that. But you can do that without violating the terms of your mortgage.
Yeah. Which again, I love the fact that you're getting options.
Yeah, that's
You
great
know?
advice.
It's not your typical, got to have 20% down, got to go through a commercial lender, got to do it this way first through the LLC. You guys have a way that's legal
Yes.
and that's viable and that allows someone to purchase a property at a little bit lower down payment. What about the interest rate? How is that impacted?
Interest rate is better usually. Now, rates right now are kind of on hiatus for second home and investment properties, but we expect to see that level back out. And typically, your interest rate on an investment property is going to be lower than on secondary market than
Than a
if
commercial?
you were to do like commercial or in-house. Yeah.
Well, that gives you some options on things that you consider and that you can think about. If you're interested in that, check it out. Let us just give you the information. Let's talk through what does it take and is this something that's a viable option for you? It may not be now, but if you get the information, you know what you need to work toward to make that a part of your portfolio down the way. So I just want to say, Jessica, thank you so much. I am so excited to hear all about what's going
Me
on
too.
in Orange
So
County.
encouraging.
Yeah,
It
it really
is.
is. And I hope that people see that.
Yeah. And we were talking about the billions. So the total in Orange County again, tell us for those who have just joined the program.
So our current pipeline of projects totals over $12 billion, and that would equate to close to 2,000 permanent jobs.
That's amazing. And then in the region,
That's just primary.
That's just
That doesn't
primary.
include
Correct.
all of the
Absolutely.
additional
Ancillary.
teaching and
That's right.
The
hospitals
secondary
and
and tertiary jobs that
Yeah.
come along with that. Absolutely. And then regionally, 65 billion for
Amazing.
the region. So now is definitely a time to be in the market.
So when people are wondering, is now the time? You're right. I mean, all of this information is so good to understand that things are going great here in Southeast Texas, and what's projected for our local area is very different than what the national market is speaking and saying. Now, are there challenges? Yes. Kristi just told us about interest rates going up a little, but she's also given us some options on things we can do to make that more economical for us. So, Kristi, if anyone has a question, again, Kristi Dourian, First Financial, tell everyone how to get a hold of you.
yes, you can reach me by my cell phone, my work cell. It's 409-238-1030.
And if you are thinking about getting into the real estate market, you know, that's what I do and have been doing for the last 28 years of my life. So would love to sit down and visit with you and look at what your goals are and help you either get into your first home, your second home, or maybe consider getting into investing in real estate. So if you're interested in doing that, there are a couple of different ways that you can contact us. First, you can call our team phone, which we have someone who answers that phone 8 to 8, Monday through Saturday, 1 to 8 on Sunday. You have a licensed realtor who answers that phone call and can answer your questions without any pressure at all. Or you can go onto our real estate website, which is DaynaSimmonsRealEstate.com. Don't forget to put that Y in there, DAYNA, DaynaSimmonsRealEstate.com. And you can search for any property. Every property that's in the MLS is also in our website. We would love the opportunity to visit with you. It's been such a joy to have you guys on the show today. Thank you again.
Thank you
Have
so much.
a great Saturday.